Okay, welcome to our latest World 100 Reputation Network webinar. Today, we're going to be exploring two tools offered to members of the World 100 Network, looking at social media engagement and also international media monitoring. So we've got a number of our members of the network joining us online today. But we've also got some non-members who I think will be interested in exploring what these tools have to offer. So we'll be running a live Q&A, so do please ask your questions in the Q&A section as we explore these two tools. So we'll be running that live for colleagues who are joining us today. We'll also be recording this session, and our members in Australia and Asia will be able to submit their questions separately, and we'll be in touch with you about how to do that. Okay, so I'm Mark Sudbury. I'm the head of the World 100 and Reputation, and I'll be joined shortly by my colleagues Lisa Bold and Rowan Elliott. So because we're focusing primarily on social media, I'm clearly not the world's expert on social media. I'm a little too old for that. Fortunately, both Lisa and Rowan are absolute experts, and they'll be demonstrating the two tools to you so that we can get into the detail of how you can best use the material that's on offer. But before we dive into those two tools, because we've got some people joining us who aren't members of the network, let me just give a quick bit of background to what the World 100 Reputation Network is. So we were formed in 2007, and it's a network for those people involved at a senior level with communications, marketing, and international at leading global universities. So the membership criteria is that you need to be in the top 200 of one of the main world rankings or one of the young university rankings. However, we are shortly to announce a new network for universities outside the top 200, and we'll be deciding on which elements we'll be offering to those members as well in due course. So stay in touch with us to find out a bit more about that if you don't qualify for World 100 membership. So our focus in the network is very much on reputation, on research, and on networking. So we currently have 43 members spread all around the world. Some of you will recognize your logos there. I desperately hope we've got the right ones. So our members in all parts of the world, and those of you who are involved with the network will benefit from that engagement, focusing on international reputation. And briefly, this is just an idea of the main things that membership of a network offers you. So we do an annual research project focusing on a key element of research. We run a reputation academy providing training. We have tracking tools. Importantly, we provide all sorts of networking opportunities, particularly through our annual conference, but also through other events and webinars like this one. We do reputation consultancy. And finally, a key element of membership over the last few years has been the monitoring that we offer to members. And that's what we're going to be focusing on in the webinar today. So first of all, we're going to be looking at what we call SMART, the Social Media Analysis for Reputation tool, which is a tool we've only recently launched in the last few weeks. So part of the aim of today's webinar is for those who are already members to give you a live demonstration so you can see how easy it is to use that tool, and you can ask any questions to Lisa, who's the expert in the tool and has put it together to help you get the most out of it. Secondly, we'll be looking at a bespoke reporting tool, which is an addition to SMART. And this is something where you can dive into the detail of social media engagement key performance indicators. So that's something that is available to everyone, and that is something that's available at additional cost for our members. And finally, we're also going to be looking at our Aurora Global Media Monitoring Dashboard. So for the last 7 or 8 years, we've been offering monitoring of global media. We've now put it onto a new dashboard, and Rowan will be taking you through that shortly. So do please, as I say, ask any questions in the Q&A, because we'll be going through some of those tools in a bit of detail. We've got a real opportunity, particularly for members, to raise any questions. You've probably had a go on the tools already, but Lisa is here to help guide you through the full power of these tools. So let me just do a quick introduction to SMART then, the Social Media Analysis for Reputation tool. So as we've said, this is a free tool for World 100 members. So you have access to the dashboard that Lisa will be demonstrating throughout the course of the membership year. And what it provides you with is quarterly analysis of some key performance indicators covering key elements of social media engagement. And we'll be taking you through those shortly. I think what's different about this tool, and of course, absolutely the case that in most communications and marketing operations in global universities, you'll of course be doing your own analysis of social media. But I think what's different about this tool is that it allows you to benchmark against the performance of 400 leading world universities. So essentially we collect data for every university that is able to join the World 100 Reputation Network. We also provide some key member highlights, and that can be useful for you in reporting internally. And finally, I think it provides you with the opportunity to actually look at metrics across 4 of the key social media platforms, but all in one place. And I think often it's difficult to get social media monitoring, which looks at all of the different tools. So I'm going to hand over to Lisa in just a second. And first of all, Lisa's just going to guide members through how you actually access this SMART database. And then she'll be guiding you through the live tool. And don't forget, please ask your questions in the Q&A, and Lisa will be able to guide you through any of the questions that you have. Okay, handing over to you, Lisa.
Thank you. So to access the SMART tool, and the Aurora dashboard, which Rowan will be talking about later in the webinar, you will need a World 100 data login. This is separate to the website members area login. The data login is the same one that you might have used to log into the UK or the international tracker dashboards. Logins are individual, not for a university as a whole, and we can create as many logins as you need. So just let us know who needs access and we can sort that out. So when you visit the SMART page on the World 100 website and click on the button to access the members report, you'll be prompted to log in. The updates to the reporting will be added to the same dashboard, and we'll let you know when new data has been added each time. No logins needed for the sample bespoke report, but you will need to fill out a quick form to get access to that. So I will just share my screen. Can we see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. So when you, sorry, just 1 second. When you open the tool, you'll find a main menu page, and here you can select the university. Oh, when it just loads. Here we go. So you select your university from the drop-down box and the quarter that the time period that you're interested in. So each time we add in, another option will appear on here. You can navigate the tool from this page here, or you can use this sidebar menu over here. So the tool is divided into 4 main sections. There are pages for each social media channel, analysis that looks across channels, member highlights for the quarter, and at the end there is more detail about the tool, which universities are included, what all of the available KPIs are, and information about bespoke analysis opportunities, which we'll go over in detail later in the webinar. So if we look first at the channel summary reports, they're all very similar in design and content. So I'll just show you one as an example. If we look at Facebook here. Okay, so this is just for the University of New South Wales, quarter 3 of 2020. So the summary report shows your activity for the quarter and how that compares to the average for the whole set. And you can see down at the bottom there, how many universities are included in the benchmark set, because it varies across channels. So in this example, UNSW, their Facebook posts achieved almost 4,500 shares here, 35% more than the average of 3,266 for the 462 universities that were analysed. So there are 2 pages devoted to volume of posts, which are over here. So this one shows the volume of posts of the quarter. Oh, not sure why that's not come through. I'll check that though. And shows you the benchmark average as well. And on posts per day, again, I'm not sure why that one's not come through, but it just shows you the average number of posts per day. And that's against the average for all of the universities included. So the next bit then is this fan base area. So here we have a series of scatter graphs with the number of followers on the x-axis and the growth on the y-axis. So for this section, the universities that can be plotted are limited to World 100 members, but we do have the data for every university in the tool. So if you're interested in others, we could definitely get that data for you as part of the bespoke analysis. So we recommend that you choose only a selection of members to plot here, just to make the charts readable. So I'll just choose a few. So that one, and a couple more. So if we use Twitter as our example here, so we can see that whilst Arizona State has by far the largest number of followers, King's in comparison has seen the strongest growth. And that chart shows you for each of those four media channels there as well. As Mark mentioned earlier, we have member highlights in here. So each quarter we'll highlight top member posts. And if we just look at one for example, if we look here at Instagram, we looked at the most liked post over the quarter, which for the last quarter was a post communicating a research piece at the University of Toronto. And the post received over 8,500 likes. For Facebook, we highlight the post with the most comments. For Twitter, it's the most retweeted tweet. And for YouTube, the most watched video. And you can click on these to link through to the actual post on the social media platform as well. So finally, for this part of the demo, I will just show you how you can see which universities are covered in the tool, which is down here. So it just shows you there all the ones, and you can flick through and see which ones are in there. And then a really useful page at the end there is the KPIs page. So this gives you a full rundown of all the metrics that we collect for every university. So this free members report covers just a selection of these, but bespoke reporting can incorporate any of these that you're interested in, and it shows you there on the right hand side how the metrics overlap across the different social media channels. So I'll just hand you back over to Mark to give you an overview of the bespoke reporting before I give you a look at the sample report that we have there.
Okay, actually, I think it might be an opportunity to take some early questions. So
sure.
Do remember to get your questions in, particularly around this smart free dashboard, first of all, and Lisa can talk us through some of the issues in terms of how you can use that dashboard. First question I've got is, can you explain a little more about the post interaction metric?
Sure. So the post interaction is a measure of the average number of interactions per post in relation to the number of followers that the page has. So the calculation is the number of interactions divided by the number of posts, divided by the number of followers. So one of the reasons that we moved to this new framework for analysis and reporting was the feedback that we had from staff working in digital roles at universities was that they wanted a measure that took into account the size of the fan base. So that's why we've included that one there.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, lots of questions coming in. So a couple of basic ones that are easy to answer. Could you give the link to get access to this area? So obviously we can provide that link for members. If you're not a member, I'm afraid you can't get access to this tool, but we're very happy to talk to you about joining the network. And someone asked, is this free for World 100 members? Yes, sorry, I should have made that really clear. So this particular section that we're focusing on now, this is something that is available free to all current members of the network. And as Lisa was just describing, we will have communicated to someone in your team how to access the database, but we can obviously talk to you about that afterwards. Okay, another question. You previously did a ranking. Why are you not doing a ranking anymore? And maybe Lisa, just explain what this is a successor to a Twitter ranking that we used to do as part of the network.
Yeah, so there are so many metrics available, and even more so now that we've got this new tool. But not all of which are common to all social media channels. Some metrics carry more weight than others, and the relative importance of the metrics varies from team to team. So we experimented with several ways of ranking the data, which became even more complex when we expanded the scope to cover 4 social media channels instead of just Twitter, which is where we began. So we decided that it would be better to provide you with more of the granular detail to allow you to focus on what matters to your institution. And that was made possible really when we started using the Displayer platform to create dynamic dashboards that members can interact with. Of course, the universities can be ranked on any of the metrics that you're interested in. So if that is something that you particularly want to see, please let me know and we can have a look at that for you as part of the bespoke reporting or however we do that.
Okay, fantastic.
That answers that.
So a question, can the analysis include trends?
Absolutely, yes. And that is something that we're planning to add into the members' reports at the next update, which will be in April for the first quarter of 2021, when we'll have 3 data points in there. And bespoke reports can also include trends as well. So short answer, yes.
Yeah, so absolutely the tool has been designed over time to give you trends on a quarterly basis, and obviously we're just showing you the initial version of the tool. But yes, where this becomes really powerful, I think, is when you can see trends over time, particularly in comparison to other leading world universities. Another question, can I download the report for use internally?
Yes, you can, and that's a really nice thing about the Displayer platform. You can download the whole thing or just the parts that you're most interested in. And you can download to PowerPoint, Excel, or PDF, and you just use this little, I assume you're still seeing my screen here, this little export button at the top there. And when you click on one of those, it'll ask you whether you want to download just this page or the whole document.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, and again, that's very much the purpose of this. It's something that you will be able to use for your internal reporting. I think that's where it will become particularly useful. So just a question, is this just covering English language social media? Yes and no.
So obviously where the pages are only in English, then that's the one we've gone for. In some cases, universities have 2 social media channels, one in English, one in native language. And in that case, we've tended to go for the English language one, but some of them, not all of them are English language because not all of them are available in English. So we've included something for where those universities don't have one in English. But that is something that we need to think about as well. Which one do you want us to cover if you've got more than one? Which would be the better one for you to, would you like to see covered? So if anybody wants to share that information with me, that would be really helpful.
Okay, fantastic. Here's an important question. Do you have to have displayer software on your computer to access this?
No, no download required. It's entirely in the web browser. All you need is the login, and you don't have to download anything.
Okay. And Sonia's been on, says that her university's a member but hasn't been able to create or activate a displayer account. That's maybe something we can follow up directly, but how does that work, Lisa?
We have to create you an account to be to get in there. So like Mark said earlier, we have communicated access details to the main contacts at each university, but anybody who does want a login just needs to just let me know and I'll make you one up.
Okay, we'll follow up directly on that one.
Yeah.
And just a couple more before we move on. So I mean, how could people use this tool to support their social media strategy and to work alongside other material that they're collecting?
Well, I think Mark made a good point earlier that this tool benchmarks against 400 universities. And I think a lot of universities probably aren't benchmarking against that whole set. So it adds another level to your social media analysis, which might just be looking at your university and a select group of competitors. I think that's the main added value.
Yeah, and in a moment we'll be talking through the bespoke reports, and that's probably something where you can dig into things much more. If you have a particular issue that you're really interested in, then the power of the bespoke tool will give you something really additionally. So we'll cover that shortly. And just one practical one here from Alistair. Do the Instagram metrics include Instagram story content?
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but I will check and find out.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. So I think we've covered all those questions. Thanks very much for those questions. And obviously, Lisa is available to you for practical questions on an ongoing basis outside of the webinar.
Yep.
So let's jump on now. And we'll just take you through the bespoke reporting here. So we've been looking at the free element of this that's available to all World 100 members. And now we're just going to talk about the bespoke analysis. So essentially, because Lisa's built a really rich data set and a way of accessing these key metrics about social media engagement, there's a big underpinning data set that can be mined for all sorts of in-depth reports, focusing more particularly on key elements. So again, a reminder, the full data set will be covering the same 400 world leading universities. So potentially a really powerful set of data for you there. And we can also look cross-channel. So it can look either, as an example on the screen, around the power of the Twitter database, but there's also the ability to look across these 4 different platforms. And there's a really wide range of KPIs available for you to dig into. So I'll hand over to Lisa again so she can demonstrate she'll show you a dummy report, if you like, of the type of data that you're able to get out of this tool. But just to be clear on this one, so this will be additional cost for any bespoke analysis for members, but it's also available for non-members as well. And obviously the cost will depend on the level of data that you're asking us to report on. But we're very happy to have individual conversations with universities. And there are already a couple of universities who we're working with on specific reports. Oh, Lisa, back over to you.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just share the screen again. Okay, hopefully you can see that again.
Yeah.
So this is an example of a bespoke report that we have created for a real client. They're interested in Twitter specifically, and they identified 5 key competitors that they wanted to be compared against. Their report is updated to include the latest data every quarter. So as Mark mentioned, the bespoke reports can be totally customized to include the metrics and level of detail that you're interested in. For the purpose of this example, the client is University of X, and we have competitor 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in there. So just got to load again because it was in the other one. Okay, so we start with an overview of the data set. So you can see here that for 2020 quarter three, we're looking at a data set of just over 140,000 tweets from 441 universities across 52 countries. So the average tweet activity page shows how University of X compares to the overall set on a number of different metrics there. And in the next section here is where we look at University of X compared to the 5 competitors. So there's all the different metrics are here and also over here. So if we look at retweets as an example, so we can see if you move it to say quarter 3, that University of X were the strongest of the set. But then you can use this little toggle here. So quarter 4 and shows that competitor 1 is now ahead of them. And for all these pages, the average across all profiles is in the data set is shown at the bottom down here. So you can see the average was just over 1,500 retweets for the whole set. At the end of the competitor comparison pages, we have links to the top 10 tweets for the period. And this would be tweets of the competitor set, but to keep this anonymous, these are just 10 random member posts to show how this works. And you can click on these to click through to the actual tweets. And just to include a little more insight from the overall data set, we have the top 3 section, which is over here. And this highlights the top university profiles for retweets, volume of tweets, conversation rate, tweet interaction, and likes. So if we just pick one, again, this will expand down here. If we just pick one as an example, if we look at conversation rate, we can see that for 2 universities, 100% of their tweets were reply tweets to other users. And in the real version of this report, the proper university names are displayed so you can see who those are. And then finally, for this demo is the regional analysis section over here, which plots volume of tweets against number of followers and tweet interaction as the bubble size. So University of X's competitor in this region, if we put it on Australasia as an example. So yeah, University of X's competitor in this region is highlighted in blue up here. As one of the most prolific tweeters and with one of the highest number of followers, but comparatively low tweet interaction. So that was a very quick overview there of what we've included for this particular client. And you can view this sample report on the website. You don't need to log in for that. If you want to go in ahead and have a play around with it, and I'm happy to take any questions that you might have about bespoke reporting as well.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah, do get your questions in on this one. Yeah, and Lisa, just to emphasize, so that was one client who were interested particularly in Twitter. But
Yes.
as we said previously, you can provide analysis across all 4 and do some comparison across all 4 as well, or the channels?
Yeah. Well, each bespoke report can be totally tailored to what the university or the digital team want it to include. Okay. And how they want that to be displayed.
So yeah, hopefully you see this is a really powerful tool, and I think the key thing is to understand what your requirements would be. So just give us a sense. A couple of questions have come in. Is there a minimum sign-up length for these bespoke reports?
No, so you can buy it as a one-off report, as a snapshot, or you can sign up to regular updates, which could be monthly or quarterly. There's a bit of a discount if you subscribe to reports for 12 months or more, but like Mark said earlier, the actual cost would be determined on the level of depth of the data. But yeah, you don't have to subscribe for any period of time if you don't want to.
Okay, and someone is asking about the cost of a bespoke report. So obviously it's going to depend on what you ask for, but is it possible to give a rough cost for the one that you've demonstrated?
Yes, in the 2,000 to 3,000 for the year range. Yeah.
Okay. And a question about the period of reporting. So I think what you've demonstrated is reporting quarterly, but could it be done more regularly, say on a monthly basis?
Yep. So we actually collect the data daily. So there's no limit on the reporting period that we can use. So our initial consultations with a small number of digital leads in universities suggested that quarterly reporting was okay. But if there was an appetite amongst members for more regular reporting, we could look at doing that. And bespoke reporting can be based on any timeframes that you want. So you don't have to, just because the members report is quarterly doesn't mean that your bespoke report also has to be quarterly. It can be different. So I am discussing a bespoke report at the moment with a client, potential client, which will update monthly.
Okay. Yeah, so it's really whatever fits in best with your requirements. And again, I think where the tool becomes really powerful internally is the reporting that you are doing to maybe senior colleagues or other people in the university. If you're reporting quarterly or if you're reporting monthly, I think this tool provides a great deal of flexibility. Sorry, someone is asking a question of the currency you just you just raised. I assume that was in British pounds, was it?
Oh, sorry. Yes, pounds. Yeah, pounds.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, just a question of how many competitors could you include? I think you referenced the fact that you can choose a certain number of competitors, or is that not capped?
It's not capped, really. Like I said, the bespoke reporting can be how you want it to be. This particular client chose 5 plus themselves. It could be 10, it could be 20, it could be as many as you like, really. We just got to think about how that would be displayed. If you start choosing really large numbers, think about what the reporting would need to be to display it in a way that's usable. But yeah, in theory, it can be as many of them as you want, as long as they're in the data set.
Yes, I think that's that. If you were interested in a really large number, I think that's an important conversation to have with Lisa, because the way that will render in the displayer tool will sometimes be quite difficult if you have very large numbers. This is something that we've noticed for some of our other products. So I think it's probably important to have that conversation quite early on in terms of the number of competitors that you're tracking.
Yeah, the tool is quite dynamic though, and we do have you can set lots of filters and drop downs, so you can cut within the number of competitors that you've picked. So you wouldn't necessarily have to show all competitors at all times.
Yeah,
filter those. Yeah, I'm sure we could make it work.
Okay. And then just this question, could this be included in the international tracker? So some of you will be aware that last year we ran a pilot international reputation tracker project for all World 100 members, and we're just about to kick off introducing that as a permanent product. So I think we are including the quarterly analysis in the tracker. I think that's right, isn't it?
Yep. So in the pilot year, we did include some metrics from this SMART analysis, and we will continue to do that as the tracker goes forward. Okay.
Yeah, so members will be receiving more details about the new international tracker product shortly, if you haven't already, and we're very happy to talk to non-members about the power of reputation tracking more generally as well. Okay, a really interesting question this. Could you track one subject, like a crisis, that you wanted to see what people were saying about the institution?
Yes, potentially yes. The tool that's used for the back end of this is quite sophisticated, and we can do individual keyword search analysis. The extent to which we can do that would be determined by, you know, what you're looking for, what questions you're trying to answer there. So that would definitely be a conversation to work out how we might best be able to help you with that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, despite my lack of social media skills, I have looked at the data collection here when I was trying to understand which universities have been really high profile on social media during the pandemic. And yeah, there's a huge amount of data here. The really important thing is being clear about the parameters of what you're trying to measure at the start of a project, as it would be with any other project. But it struck me particularly for this one because there is so much potential data there. Okay, any other questions on this one? Oh, can you analyze the type of people that are talking about your university?
That might be possible in the tool. It's not something that I've looked at specifically, but I can have a look at that. It's not something that we've included here, but I'll have a look and let you know.
Yeah, I suppose in relation to each of the individual social media channels, there will be some idea around general profiles, won't there? But that might be some data that's being collected elsewhere that we could look at, perhaps overlaying alongside this. So definitely something we could look at.
Look into that, sure.
Okay, so hopefully that's given you a sense of the power of this bespoke reporting. And again, just to emphasize, those are available and priced separately for both members and non-members. So finally, we're going to go and talk about Aurora, which is our international media monitoring tool. Now, this is something that the World 100 Network has been offering for many years. So we've been providing a free monthly report analysing a snapshot of international media coverage running since 2013. And I think the key point here is that this isn't all of your international media coverage. So we collect the snapshot of media coverage only in English language, but in really key global news and science media. And it's over 1 week per month. So what it does is it provides you with a snapshot, but most importantly, it provides you with the opportunity to look at trends over time. And essentially, we track your coverage against 175 leading global universities. And critically, what we've done in the last couple of months is that we used to offer this to members on Tableau, which I think many people felt was quite a tricky platform in which to engage with this data. It did mean having to download software onto your computer, and it wasn't very intuitive. So we've now moved this onto a new dashboard, and I'm going to hand over to Rowan, who is going to take you through, hot off the press, our new way of displaying Aurora data. So Rowan, over to you.
Sure, thank you, Mark. I'm going to take you through the dashboard now. Let me just share my screen. There we go. Okay, so as Mark said, Aurora is the Aggregated University Online Reputational Assessor, and it's, in summary, an international media monitoring tool available to all World 100 members for free as part of their membership. The data we gather is the number of mentions each university receives in online international media, which we class as media and news sources international to that particular university during the first week of every month. Currently, there's about 175 universities included in the tool, which includes all of the World 100 members, plus roughly 125-ish universities which are ranked in the top 100 universities in global rankings, such as THE, QS, US News, and Academic Ranking of World Universities. So yeah, as touching on what Mark said previously, we used to host this on Tableau, which many universities found really difficult to get access to because of the whole having to download the reader to go through it. So now we've moved this tool onto Displayer, which means that you can access it online without any sort of downloads and just using your account login. Okay, so this is the landing page you'll hit when you click onto the tool. And it looks familiar to those of you who've probably accessed the Tableau version, although with a great redesign from our branding expert, Ruth. This landing page highlights the intention of the tool with a quick summary of the data, quantitative assessment, and it also mentions the qualitative version, which was previously offered an additional deliverable. The analysis for this would look at the content of each article in depth for a review of the sentiment behind the pieces. We're not currently running this, but if there's enough interest, then we would consider reinstating the call for a cost to the individual universities at a fixed cost, that is. And yeah, you can use these buttons here to navigate through the tool, or there's the navigation menu at the side, which we'll be using throughout this. So let's hop into the monthly overview, which is actually new to this tool. We didn't have this in the Tableau version. And this page provides a quick snapshot of the universities receiving the most mentions. So here you can see the top 10, and mostly British, but there's a few, there's a Canadian university, Singaporean and Australian university. And we also highlight the top 3 from each region. So we've got National University of Singapore, University of Hong Kong. You'll probably notice that with Africa and South America, there's not inclusions there. That's because we currently don't have African and South American universities as part of the network, but obviously we're working on that. And University of Cape Town is included as one of our top 100 that aren't part of the network. Okay, so we can move on to the monthly data, which is the first part of the report that you would have seen if you've used Aurora before. This page covers a number of articles found in the assessment period for the universities. The date will be specified at the bottom of each chart. So as you can see, this is January 2021. And you can also see on the introduction page when it was updated. So that would also say January, just to make sure you're aware of the dates. So as you saw in the previous page, this data is color coded by region. So we have all of this here, so you can visually see which university is part of which region at a glance without having to check check the university list in particular. There are several filters available for this chart, which will allow you to view the universities you want. The filter by university box allows you to select several universities. The chart itself will only show up to 20, so be careful of overdoing that because they won't be showing if there's more than that. Then you can also filter by country here. Again, it's the same. You can choose which countries you want to look at. So you might want to look at just a few countries here. Let's go through these top 3. And the tool will process that and it'll be available instantly. And you can go back and have it in order. It's also sorted in order of mentions as well, I should say. So you can see University of Cambridge comes out on top. You can filter by region. So boxes in black will mean that it's selected. So if you want to deselect anything, you just click on it and the tool will work. You find the data there. And then we also have this member and non-member filter. Great. Okay, so I think that covers most of it for this page. And again, this will be updated monthly. So when the new data is available, yes, it'll be different on here. So if we move to the annual trend, that's where you can see it month by month. So the annual trend page looks at monthly reporting and displays all of the mentions data from the past year, showing each of the 12 months individually, as you can see here. The color-coded regions is included here again, just as a reminder. So use this key to check which region the universities are from. The filter box here will allow you to select the universities you want to compare. So this is a little bit different than the previous one because it's more focused on maybe your university and competitors. And it will show up to 4 universities at a time. So any more than that, and it will just be the first 4 you click on. But you can just have 1 or 2 show at a time. if you click on here, yeah, you can just see those 3. Or perhaps those 2 for a better view. And so new to the tool this year, we're looking at yearly comparison. So in previous years, in previous iterations of this, I should say, that we've only looked at the last year of the data, but we thought that it might be interesting to members to have a look at the 2 years in comparison. I suppose this is particularly interesting this year because of the amount of news coverage that universities have received. So, mainly around COVID, but also on a university basis. I think there's been a few instances that universities can probably pick up this year that they might be interested in. So yes, this is, you pick your university, it's just a select one for this part. So let's have a look at Imperial. So Imperial have had a bit more news coverage this year, I imagine, because of COVID research and things related to that. So if we look at the tool, we can see that 96 I should say, yes, this is from February to January 2019 to January 2020. So just at the start of COVID on the 2020 year, you can see there are several more mentions we can see here. So that might be an indication of this more international media coverage. And I was just thinking that King's College London, if we take a look at those, I was just thinking that they launched an app, a tracking app, didn't they, in March 2020. So if we have a quick look, there might be an uptick in the mentions here. Yeah, so I think compared, I know it doesn't seem like a huge increase, but that, I suppose also the app is UK based, so international media might not be covering it as much, but yeah, you can definitely see there is a slight uptick here in the 2 months in terms of their news coverage. So yeah, you can play around with that, have a look at all the universities included in the list. There's plenty to look at. And we might be considering adding in the averages for each year based on previous data, because our data actually goes back to 2013. So it won't include all of the members because they do change, but there might be something interesting there. And then the last page we have in the report is the methodology. So this is just a quick summary of the methodology. I can obviously provide more information if you're interested in that, but it just sort of highlights how the eligibility criteria and the publication criteria. And then on the last page we have the universities. I'm not going to go through that, but that just lists who is in the tool, which you can also see in the tables throughout. Okay, so I think that covers the Aurora tool. Yes, as you can see, there's a few improvements this year, and hopefully that will keep improving and you can find it a lot easier to use the data.
Great, thanks, Rowan. We've got a couple of questions to come in, but maybe a first question for members is how will they be able to access this new dashboard when you launch it?
Good point. So it will be exactly the same as logging into the Smart tool. It's based on the same platform. It'll be the same login. And when they log in, it should be just there on the dashboard. It will say Aurora and Smart, and they can just click whichever dashboard they want to go into.
Okay. And so you'll be communicating that to people shortly, will you?
Yes, and obviously encouraging people to email me if they need an account set up. Very happy to do so. We can, make as many as they need.
Okay. Okay, a couple of other questions. How do you define international news for the purposes of this database?
Oh, right, okay. So the international news is basically, I suppose it's the amount of mentions mentioned by an international news source to that university. So that will be either that the publication originates outside of the country of the university, or if not, it would mean that it's at least 50% of its readership, or the majority of its readership, are based outside of that country. So I think, so I suppose for the Daily Telegraph, while that is a UK-based publication, it has, I think, 35% of its readership outside of the UK. 35%, sorry, are based in America, and only 25% of its readership are in the UK. So therefore, that would be classed as an international media source for UK universities.
Okay. And another question, are the universities that you track the same every month?
No, they are pretty much the same for the year. So sometimes every year we usually have a look at the universities in terms of the rankings, and we'll also consider if they're still members. So a lot of the members included in this have been members since way back in the day. So their data will be there from 2013 perhaps. But if a university falls out of the top 100, we might, at that yearly sort of analysis, change this up a bit.
Okay. And what kind of news sources do you look at?
So we collect these news sources. These are collected for us. I think it's called, I can't remember the name of it actually. I think we have it on the methodology. There we go, similarweb.com. That is where they're collected from. And in terms of the kind of sources we have, I can name a few. We've got Financial Times, Indian Express, Arab News, Huffington Post. A lot of the big names, Times and Times Higher Education are also great sources that come up a lot. And then we have specialist news sources such as like Medical Express and Sci News, Politico, University World News, things like that.
Okay, just a couple of others. So someone asking, is it just 1 week of 4 weeks in a month and just in English? That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, so it'll be the first week of each month that is collected, but this will be the first week of every month, so it creates that trend. And it's for English-speaking publications, yes. I suppose this is the main language most of our members, so it seems like sensible to collect it in that language.
Yeah, and just to emphasize, again, this is intended to be a snapshot. It's not intended to replace the media monitoring that most universities will undertake anyway. Like the SMART tool, where it becomes powerful is the comparison with other international universities. And I would say, and I was previously working at a leading global university, I found that trend data really, really powerful in terms of being able to report very high level trends of media coverage internationally when I was reporting to senior colleagues. So just a question, presumably this includes negative as well as positive stories, or do you track sentiment?
No, so this will be both negative and positive. In terms of sentiment, we used to collect that in our qual data. I think I mentioned that at the beginning. Let me just go back to that. So we no longer currently collect that, but if there was enough interest, we could look into starting that, and we did collect sentiment through that. We had readers for this.
Yes, so that's very similar to the concept of the bespoke reports for social media engagement that we talked about in the previous section. If there are enough universities that are interested in, we would have the capacity to do that. And that can be really powerful in adding a level of depth to your understanding of your international media coverage. So do contact us. So just a question, does it include radio and TV stories?
No, so it won't include, I've got a definition here actually, let me just make sure I'm getting that correct. So we pick up only international news, and these are, I suppose newspapers, magazine articles that are quoted on other people's websites, maybe newspapers that have their own websites, websites offering roundup of news. What it doesn't include is academic publications, books, adverts, things like blogs, films, televisions, radio programs, but it will include references such as reviews it might be reviews based on those radio radio shows and things like that. Okay,
so I mean, Rowan will be very happy to talk about that in more detail with any members who are particularly interested in that level of detail. And just a question, is the oral report available online like the social media tool, or is it more like a PDF? Well, I think that's what we're changing, Rowan, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, so the Tableau tool was, it wasn't even a PDF, it was even more difficult to access. So yeah, this tool is available online, but as Lisa said, you can download it as a PDF, PowerPoint, Excel. You can just do that. Yeah, really simple.
Okay, so we're very near our time. I know there have been a couple of other specific questions, detailed questions, which we will answer separately that people have raised. But hopefully you've had the opportunity to get a good understanding of the key elements of both the SMART tool and the Aurora tool. And do please get in touch with Lisa or Rowan directly, or any of us at the World 100 Network with any questions. If you're a member of how to use the tools, or if you're not a member and you'd be interested in exploring the benefits of getting access to those tools through membership of the World 100 Network. So let me just close. For those of you who aren't members, just to give you a brief sense of what the wider benefits of membership are. So we've already talked about some of these at the beginning, but I think the key ones that our members find particularly useful are the networking, so the opportunity to engage at our conferences and study tours, and also through webinars such as this, but also our exclusive content. And this year we're also offering a free half-day reputation consultancy workshop for each of our members that you can tailor to your own particular needs. So I think universities are finding that a particularly powerful way of using the benefits of being part of a world network. We mentioned our training academy, and you get priority booking for our academy, which we'll be running this year in May, and more details of that on our website. And we just started our new annual research project on reputation for this year, and more details of that are available to members. And membership also allows you to access previous research, which can be very powerful in understanding different key elements of global reputation. So those are just a few of the benefits. So do please get in touch with us. We'll be following up with non-members on the back of this webinar, but also do follow us on social media channels. Thank you very much for listening into the webinar today. As I say, any further questions, do please get in touch. But thank you for your time. And thank you to my colleagues, Lisa and Rowan, for explaining those two tools to us. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.